Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem.
The Conservative Party is under new leadership. From now on, we are going to be telling the British people the truth, even when it is difficult to hear. Fulfilling the role the British people gave us. Fighting for common sense and truth. Building a plan which actually delivers. We have to know what we are winning for and what we are going to do after we win. Building a proper plan. Fighting for ordinary people, for the institution of the family, for business, for common sense, for less tax, less state and less interference. We are facing an economic crisis. There is only one party that has the experience and a plan to get us out of the mess we're in.
He doesn't have the balls. If he had a backbone, he would sack her. Be a leader, not a lawyer.
No politician alone can build lasting prosperity. That comes from business, from innovation, from risk takers and job creators. It comes from you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch.
Thank you. Thank you, conference. Thank you. Thank you, conference. Thank you. Thank you, conference. Only the Conservative Party can deliver the stronger economy and stronger borders that will give people a more prosperous future. Every generation must face its test. In the 1940s, our test was to defeat fascism and ensure the victory of freedom. In the 1980s, it was to banish socialism and deliver prosperity. And in the 2020s, our test is to restore a strong economy, secure our borders, and rebuild Britain's strength so our children inherit a country that works. Ladies and gentlemen, conference, thank you. Thank you for standing by the only party that can meet the test of our generation. The only party that can deliver a stronger economy and stronger borders. Everything else relies on getting this right. National security, order on the streets, decent healthcare, high-quality education, cohesion in our communities. None of this exists without a strong economy and strong borders. A weak economy makes us poorer. The services we rely on get worse, and people cannot build a better life for themselves or their families. Weak borders allow people to exploit our generosity, put our housing and public services under pressure, and fracture our sense of who we are as a nation. A weak economy and weak borders means steady decline. I reject that fate. Together, we Conservatives will save Britain from that fate. And we can do it together because we are a strong team. My fantastic shadow cabinet, Mel, Chris, Claire, Laura, Rob, Andrew, both of them, James, both of them, Mims, Jesse Stewart, all of you, thank you. Thank you so much. My front bench, experienced hands and rising stars, conference, we know our MPs and peers have more collective wisdom than the rest of Parliament put together. And it's not just them. Let's not forget Darren and our MSs in Wales, Russells, and our MSPs in Scotland, our fantastic mayors. Labour beater, Ben Houchin, Reform slayer, Paul Bristow, councillors, activists, you are our party, thank you. I joined our party as an activist 20 years ago. I was with you delivering leaflets, knocking on doors. I sat in this hall listening to speeches. I celebrated all our wins, and I felt the pain of every defeat. I cannot tell you now how honored, how privileged, and how proud I am to stand before you as leader of our party, leader of the Conservative Party, the only party that can meet the test of our generation. And you are more than just a political party to me. You have supported me, you have stood by me, you have enabled me to achieve more than I ever dreamed. You are my family, in many ways, quite literally. I married the deputy chairman of my association, and I certainly would not be standing here today without my husband, Hamish. Thank you, Hal. I love this party for what it has given me. But more than that, I love it because it has made life better for so many in our country and will do so again. Time and time again, guided by our values and our principles, we have steered this country through its darkest days. And today, we must be ready to do the same again. Because we are the only party that has the vision, the courage, and the competence to tear up a broken political model, deliver a new blueprint for our country, and together take Britain into an era of prosperity and security. To do this conference, we must be frank about the problems our country faces, because they are not the same ones that we faced in the 1940s, or the 1980s, or even the 2010s. The country that Hamish and I were born in had its issues, but thanks in large part to hard choices taken by this party, opportunity was there for people who worked hard. People had a sense of pride in our national story and excitement about the future. I'm not so sure young people feel that way anymore. They feel they are living somewhere where things never get any better. Britain is stagnating while the world around us moves on. We are competing with restless and ambitious countries around the world. We are competing with 1 billion people in India striving to become middle class. We are competing with economic success stories like Poland. 15 years ago, Polish workers came here to find opportunity. Now, Poland is growing twice as fast as we are. While Britain was redefining what a woman is, China was building 5 nuclear reactors. Conference people around the world are determined to lift their lives and their children's lives up to a standard that we have taken for granted. Some countries won't be able to do this, and in those countries, millions of people will decide that they want to come here instead. And if our borders are not secure, they will succeed, especially if our economy is addicted to migration. Of course, we want brilliant minds and great talents to come here, but at the moment, we are not just taking in doctors and engineers and scientists. We are accepting hundreds of thousands of people, some with many dependents, some with no skills at all. This broken immigration model is heaping pressure on our public sector, a public sector which already, every year, demands more and more and more of our money. Yet services don't get better, they get worse. Everyone in this room knows what I'm talking about. We have all felt it. We used to ring up our GP and get an appointment the same day. Now we have to wait on the phone to see if we're one of the lucky ones. We have potholes that have been around for so long, people are holding birthday parties for them. But underneath all of this is a society which is struggling to cope. Struggling to cope with the reality of getting poorer, struggling to cope with the erosion of a sense of who we are as a country. We cannot drift our way into solving these problems. We know what drift looks like. It looks like allowing the trade unions to overturn years of progress in school standards. It looks like letting our veterans face vexatious prosecutions when we should be worrying about the strength of our military. Drift looks like Labour's one-in, one-out returns deal with France that ends up letting 100 people in for every one who leaves. Being timid will get us nowhere. We need bold ideas. We need a positive vision for this country and a plan to deliver it. We need a new approach that delivers a stronger economy and stronger borders. We owe that to our children. During our time in government, we did great things. Labour want to pretend the last 14 years were all bad. They want to forget that they were losing all that time. Let's remind them. Between 2010 and 2020, we slashed the deficit. We lifted millions of people out of tax and got millions into work. We sent English schools soaring up the international league tables. We led the coalition against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The conference, the truth is, we didn't always fight hard enough for what we believed in. We need to remember who we are fighting for. We are fighting for people who work hard and do the right thing. We are fighting for people who ask, why do sickness benefits pay more than the minimum wage, more than the living wage even? We are fighting for small business owners, people who take risks and get things done. We We are fighting for the victims of crime. They want to know that we are on their side, that criminals will face the full force of the law. We are fighting for the farmers, putting food on our tables. These are our people, Conference. They are the backbone of our country. We fought for them before, and we will fight for them again. Conference, time and time again, we have been the only party that is bold enough to do what is needed, the only party that is competent enough to do it properly. We were bold enough to create the modern police force, to introduce free state education for every child. We were radical enough to launch the right to buy, to free the workplace from the dead hand of the state, to give working men the vote, and better late than never, women too. We were courageous enough to introduce same-sex marriage. And of course, we were brave enough to take Britain out of the European Union, honoring the biggest democratic mandate in our history. All Conservative achievements. Yes, all of that was us. But enough about past glories. Actually, how about one more? Conference, do you know the one thing we Conservatives have done the most throughout our history? Clear up the mess left by Labour. And my goodness, they are making one hell of a mess. Never in the field of human history have so many been let down by so few. All they have delivered is a doom loop of higher taxes, weaker borders, and month after month of chaos. They had a plan to win, but no plan for power, no vision for Britain. They know how to make promises, but not how to deliver them. This year, the Prime Minister was asked to name his best moment in office. Do you know what he said? Walking into Downing Street. For once, I agree with him. It's been downhill all the way since. What have Labour given us? An anti-corruption minister under investigation for corruption, a homelessness minister who made her own tenants homeless, a housing secretary sacked for dodging housing taxes. You couldn't make this stuff up. We had a transport secretary fired for stealing a phone, and our ambassador in Washington thrown out in disgrace. There is an old joke that a diplomat is someone sent abroad to lie for their country. Well, at least in Peter Mandelson, they had a man of experience. Just look at the spectacle we saw in Liverpool last week. Minister after minister failing to rule out the tax rises we all know are coming. The Mayor of Manchester touting his own manifesto for the country. But to be honest, I can't blame Andy Burnham for that one. Who doesn't want to get rid of this utterly useless, weak Prime Minister? After 5 years as Labour leader, people still don't know what Keir Starmer stands for. And you know what the real problem is? He doesn't know himself. Today we learn that Labour deliberately collapsed the trial of 2 men accused of spying on MPs for China because the Prime Minister wants to suck up to Beijing. This is squalid. We have got the measure of them, conference. Just look at Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary. She's trying to convince us that she's tough, right? I remember when Shabana Mahmood tried to stop foreign criminals being deported. Do you remember that, Rob? I remember when she lay down on the ground in front of a Sainsbury's protesting because they were selling food from Israel. So forgive me if I treat this newfound tough image with a little skepticism. You remember. Labour represents everything that is wrong with politics. Rachel Reeves likes to congratulate herself for breaking the glass ceiling. What she's really broken is our economy. Attacking those who work hard, destroying business confidence, forcing wealth creators to leave the country, piling debt onto our children. We know that in her November budget of doom, she will give us all something to cry about. The highest business taxes since the 1970s, taxes on farmers, taxes on education, an unprecedented tax, punishing parents who work hard to invest in their children's future. Shameful. The tax burden is so high, it is making Britain poorer because business is giving up. Business is leaving. And as they leave, or never start in the first place, people's livelihoods, people's hopes, people's dreams go with them. Grangemouth Refinery, gone. Merck, BMW, Ineos, pulling investment. Schools for children with special needs are shutting their doors. Farmers feeling they've got no way out. The London Stock Exchange dropping out of the world's top 20 for listings. Our party knows that a job is the best route out of poverty. We got unemployment to a 40-year low. And what has happened since Labour came in? A jobs tax, unemployment up, inflation up, borrowing up. These are the real-life consequences of a weak, directionless government. Conference last year, the public voted for change, but all they have been given is change for the worse. And because they are still angry with us, parties that in normal times would never be seen as a serious option for government are gaining ground, making promises they will never be able to keep. Let's look at what's on offer out there for all those disappointed by Labour. Reform promising free beer tomorrow, Jeremy Corbyn promising free jam, Lib Dems promising free lentils. All of them promising more spending, blowing up the public finances. Whether it's Starmer, Farage, Corbyn or Davey, all these men are shaking the same magic money tree, following the same failed playbook. No plan for growth, no honesty about the scale of the challenges, and it always leads to the same result. More government, more taxes, more debt. It is irresponsible, it's cynical, and it's why Britain needs Conservatives back in charge. We can't beat them simply by attacking them. As George Bernard Shaw said, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. We have to offer something better. So what are we going to do? Conference, as you may have heard, I am an engineer. My starting point is always to carry out a diagnosis before producing the blueprint to put it right. Since I became your leader, my shadow cabinet and I have analysed the problems facing the country. Our diagnosis is clear. Britain is being held back by a broken model. A model which says the government always knows best, that high immigration is always good for the economy, that Britain should apologise for its history rather than be proud of it. We lost because we accepted the status quo no more. When Margaret Thatcher was leader of the opposition, she said this: if every Labour government is prepared to reverse every Tory measure, while Conservative governments accept nearly all socialist measures, the end result is only too plain. She was right. To fix our country, we must reverse Labour's measures. So, we will cancel their vindictive tax on education. Vicky knows what's coming. We will scrap their tax on family farms. Andrew, we will scrap their tax on family businesses. And we will reverse the terrible measures in Angela Rayner's unemployment bill, written by the unions for the unions, a bill that will wrap firms in red tape, cost business £5 billion, and make Angela Rayner probably one of the last people in Britain to ever be legally sacked. The conference simply unwinding Labour's measures isn't enough. We are Conservatives, not anarchists. I am an engineer, not an arsonist. So together, thank you. So together, we are going to build something better. We are creating a blueprint for Britain, a new settlement based on Conservative values. So what's in it? First, securing our borders. On Sunday, I announced our plan to take the UK out of the ECHR, to scrap the Human Rights Act, to deport 150,000 illegal immigrants. This is a plan, not a slogan. Next in my blueprint, work and welfare. If we want to end our over-reliance on immigration, then we must make sure that every British citizen who can work does work. Right now, there are 6.5 million working-age adults claiming benefits instead of working. You heard me right, 6.5 million. That is the entire population of Cardiff and Belfast and Glasgow and Manchester combined, being paid to sit at home all day. We cannot expect people to get up and go to work and pay more and more in taxes to subsidize millions of others not to work. It should not be controversial to say this. Conference, we have done the hard work, and we have a plan to cut welfare spending. First, British benefits for British citizens. It is common sense that you should not draw out of a system that you haven't paid into. Second, we will restrict benefits to those with the more severe mental health conditions, not anxiety or mild depression. Yes, these challenges are real and people should get support, but they cannot be treated as a reason for a lifetime off work. And third, we will restrict motability vehicles to people with serious disabilities. Those cars are not for people with ADHD. These are the first steps of a radical reform of our welfare system. We will return it to its founding principle, that support only goes to those that really need it. This should be common sense, but only the Conservatives understand this. Labour, Lib Dems, Greens, the Nationalists and Reform are all demanding more welfare spending. They don't care that it's not fair, but we do. After COVID, 2,000 people a day were being signed onto out-of-work sickness benefits. It is a national tragedy that in just 1 year of Labour, the latest figure has more than doubled. 5,000 new people are signing on each and every single day. Many are young people who are losing the chance to make something of themselves, never knowing what it's like to pay their own way. This isn't just about saving money, important though that is, it's far more than that. It is driven by our deep conservative conviction that work is a good in itself. And as people work, as they strive, as they provide for themselves and their families, they should not pay more and more of their money in taxes to a state that provides less and less. So fixing the state is next in our blueprint. Since Brexit and COVID, the size of the civil service has swollen by over a third. There are now more than 500,000 civil servants. And have you noticed? Is government working a third better for you? I don't think so. So we are going to reverse this. We are going to cut the civil service back to where it was in 2016. And as Conservatives, we don't just believe in reducing the size of the state. I have always said that while government should do less, what it does, it should do well. Let me give you an example. Conservatives are proud of our police. Unlike Labour, we will always have their back. But security and prosperity cannot exist in a country where the law is mocked, where crime is ignored, and where criminals laugh at justice. Right now, tens of thousands of police hours are wasted every year on non-crime hate incidents and form filling. Officers chasing tweets instead of thieves. The shadow justice secretary is stopping more fare evaders than Transport for London. Thank you, Rob. Conference, we are going to free the police to protect the public, not to chase political correctness. Right now, our police are spending 800,000 hours every single year waiting with mental health patients. 800,000 hours. That's the equivalent of 400 police officers doing nothing else all year except waiting around. No more. Every single officer we free from pointless paperwork, we will put back on our streets. We will send them after the shoplifters, making life a misery for high streets. And we will triple stop and search, because the more people we stop, the more people we search, the more knives we take off the streets. Across public services, we are developing similarly detailed plans to make things work better. In the NHS, industrial action has kept waiting lists high for far too long. Enough is enough. We will ban doctors from going on strike. In education, Labour have bent over to the teaching unions and are removing our academy freedoms, which have been so successful. We will reverse this act of educational vandalism, and we will make sure that brilliant schools and teachers have the freedom to do what they do best: teach. Because education should be how people change their lives. It should help you develop the skills you need to get on in life. It should ensure you get the job you want. So, if your name's Rachel, you can be an economist instead of working in customer complaints. And speaking of customer complaints, let's talk about university. Every year, thousands of young people go off to university, but leave with crippling debt and no real prospects. Nearly 1 in 3 graduates see no economic return, and every year, taxpayers write off over £7 billion in unpaid student loans. Wasted money, wasted talent. That's every year. A rigged system propping up low-quality courses while people can't get high-quality apprenticeships that lead to real jobs. And this is personal for me. I did 2 degrees, one in engineering, one in law. But I also had an apprenticeship first. And while I can't remember how to do parallel integration, I can remember how to fix a broken computer, which I learned to do during my apprenticeship. I was working with adults, I was paying my own way, and it gave an 18-year-old me a self-confidence that my university degrees never did. And unlike my degrees, I wasn't left with any debt. So we will shut down rip-off courses and use the money to double the apprenticeship budget. We'll be giving thousands more young people the chance of a proper start in life, just like I had. Which brings me, conference, to the most important task that we will face and the centerpiece of our blueprint. The reason why the Conservative Party is the only party in Britain who can be trusted to meet the test of our generation is that none of this works without a strong economy. Securing our borders, getting people into work, policing our streets, defending the nation, none of it is possible without the money to pay for it. And we are the only party with a plan to get our economy back on track. It starts with fiscal responsibility. We have to get the deficit down. And we must also show how every tax cut or spending increase is paid for. So today, I am introducing a new golden economic rule. Every pound we save will be put to work. At least half will go towards cutting the deficit, because living within our means is our first priority. And with the rest, we will get Britain growing and bring down the taxes that are stifling our economy. Over the next decade, Rachel Reeves is going to double the deficit with her borrowing and tax doom loop. She is stealing from our children and grandchildren, and Conservatives will put an end to it. We will always explain upfront where we will make these savings. We're not going to do what Labour did, promise not to cut public spending, only to snatch away pensioners' winter fuel payments. We are doing things differently. Thanks to the hard work of the Shadow Cabinet, we have already identified £47 billion in savings. Pretty has earmarked £7 billion from the overseas aid budget. Alex has identified £8 billion from cutting the civil service. And Helen has found £23 billion from welfare. Under our golden rule, half of those savings will go towards reducing Labour's deficit. With the rest, we are going to unleash our economy. That's the Conservative way. Responsibility today, opportunity tomorrow. Like so many young people, all of my first jobs were on the high street. Yes, in McDonald's, have I ever mentioned that? But it wasn't just me. All of my friends were doing similar jobs. Cafes, local pubs, family-run shops, the places that make our high streets what they are. The shops and businesses essential to communities in every town and village. And so on Monday, you heard Mel make our commitment to abolish their business rates. So whether you're a councillor, a mayoral candidate, a campaigner, I want you to go out there and spread the word that the Conservatives are bringing back the high street. Conference, energy is growth. It always has been, and it always will be. Countries with cheap energy grow faster. Countries with expensive energy decline. Right now, we pay 4 times what industry in the US does for electricity. The result? We are deindustrializing. It's not just manufacturing that is disappearing, not just steel, not just chemicals, not just ceramics, not just oil and gas. We are losing our farming industry. We are losing our fishing industry. These are the foundations of a strong economy, and they are going all because we chose a slogan of net zero over a serious strategy for a stronger economy and a better environment. So I am saying enough. I am reversing this. We will get rid of the Climate Change Act and replace it with a proper strategy that actually works. A strategy which protects the natural environment and the landscapes we love. A strategy that takes sensible steps to tackle climate change without bankrupting ourselves in the process. We will cut bills for families, slash costs for businesses, end the madness that you have to tear out your boiler or disconnect your gas hob. We are going to bring industry and jobs back home. This is real action, conference, not slogans. Conference, I'm not a climate change skeptic, but I am a net zero skeptic. Britain has already done more than any major country to cut emissions. But we cannot have a law which will make this country poorer while creating jobs abroad and increasing our reliance on hostile states. So we will axe the carbon tax on electricity. We will scrap Labour's wind and solar levy, and instead we will give you our cheap power plan. Through this plan, we will cut bills by £165 for the average family, nearly £5,000 for the average restaurant, and over £1,100 for the average pub. These are savings that can be passed on to consumers. So, conference, I won't promise you free beer, but I do want you all to have cheaper beer. So now it is time to put British prosperity first. Give this country the cheap, reliable energy it needs to thrive again.
backing nuclear, but also recognizing that it is pure folly to ban new oil and gas extraction while paying to import resources that Norway takes from the very same basin. So when it comes to the North Sea, we have a very simple policy. Drill our oil and gas now. Conference, you have seen it out there in the fringes all over Manchester, that this is a party fizzing with ideas, building our policy programme, setting out our plans, a tax cut for our high streets, a helping hand for the young with our first jobs bonus, reforms to welfare, 10,000 new police officers, tripling stop and search, scrapping the sentencing council, a new removals force, improving behaviour in schools, doubling apprenticeships, support for our veterans, £165 off your electricity bills, drilling in the North Sea, an end to the energy profits levy, scrapping the family farm tax, scrapping the family business tax, scrapping VAT on school fees, out to the ECHR, a plan for our borders, a plan for a stronger economy. Thank you. And conference, because of all the savings we found and costed, because of the tough decisions on what the government shouldn't do, because of our golden economic rule, we can afford to make one more announcement. As the Conservative Party, we know who our people are. They are people who work hard. They are the people who save hard. They are the people who understand the importance of putting down roots. They are the people who make sacrifices today for a better life tomorrow. They do the right thing. Our people are the Brits who want to get ahead in life. At the heart of a Conservative Britain is a country where people who wish to own their own home can. I remember the joy when I got the first set of keys to my first flat, the excitement of opening my own front door for the very first time, the smell of the fresh paint. I remember it just like yesterday. I want everyone in our country to have that feeling, to know it's your place, your house, your home. We Conservatives believe that owning your own home gives you a real stake in society, roots in your community. But our housing market is not working as it should. There is a big barrier that keeps getting in the way. That barrier, conference, is the tax you have to pay when you buy your home. I haven't even said what it is yet, but you all know. You all know that that barrier is stamp duty. Young people trapped in the pain of renting, workers who want to further their career, pensioners who want to downsize but can't afford the thousands of pounds they have to pay in tax. Conference, stamp duty is a bad tax. It is an unconservative tax. The last Conservative government cut stamp duty for thousands of home buyers. But now we must go further. We must free up our housing market, because a society where no one can afford to buy or move is a society where social mobility is dead. So I have looked at the stamp duty thresholds to see where we can change them. I have looked at the rates you have to pay to see if we can lower them. I have decided that we can't, because that simply wouldn't be enough.
Conference, the next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home. Will be gone. I thought you'd like that one. Thank you. Thank you. That is how we will help achieve the dream of home ownership for millions. Home ownership should be a dream that's open to everyone. Abolishing stamp duty on your home is a key to unlock a fairer and more aspirational society. We cannot unpick every tax. The debt, the deficit, and the damage this Labour government is creating means we cannot do everything all at once. Scrapping stamp duty will benefit people of all ages because conservatism must speak to all generations. The young professional buying their first flat, the couple looking for somewhere to bring up their first baby, the growing family hunting for their forever home, the pensioner who wants somewhere a little smaller or maybe to move nearer the grandchildren. No longer will they be punished with a tax that is a barrier to doing the right thing for them, for their family, and for society. Thank you. And this change will bring wider benefits to our economy too. Because every time a home is sold, it triggers a chain reaction of activity. Movers, builders, decorators, flat pack furniture, and DIY. Trips to Next, John Lewis, and IKEA. And I can afford to do this while still leaving space within my golden economic rule. Because that's the fiscally prudent way to do things. That's what conservatives do. Conference, I want to see a better Britain, where people have a brighter and more prosperous future. The Labour Party fails when it follows its principles. We fail when we don't follow ours. We are going to follow the same timeless conservative principles which have led us to success in the past. Personal responsibility, free enterprise, family, freedom of speech. People want to know what I stand for? I stand for a government that takes less of your money and doesn't interfere in your life, where the state does less but does it better, where those who create wealth are welcomed with open arms, not driven from our shores, where reward matches effort, where Britain stands tall in the world. I stand for an economy where profit is not a dirty word, where enterprise is supported, not crushed. I stand for a country where what you put in determines what you get out, where excellence is celebrated. I stand for a country where actions have consequences, where we talk about responsibilities as well as rights, where crime is punished and justice is served, where the welfare of victims outweighs the welfare of criminals.
I stand for a society where free speech trumps hurt feelings, where everyone knows what a woman is, where people are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, where the vulnerable are supported, but where freeloaders are told where to get off. Conference, I stand for stronger borders and a stronger economy so that the young can fulfill their potential, the old can live out their years in dignity, and everyone can achieve their dreams to own a home, run a business, raise a family. This is the Britain I stand for. If it is the Britain you stand for, then stand with me and let's build it together.